Hello, Econ students. This is Mrs. Proctor, and we're going to finish our discussions on business organizations. Today, we're going to look at mergers. Let's take a look at what a merger is and why they happen. What a merger is just when two or more companies come together to create a new company. And the idea behind it is we have 1 + 1 making 3. The key principle here is that we're going to buy a company that creates for our shareholders a value that's above beyond the sum of the two companies. So just basically that two companies together are more valuable than the two separate companies. Some of the reasons that companies merge are listed here. We'll talk about a few of these. Let's start off with efficiency. Efficiency, typically we're talking about cost efficiencies. When two companies merge, they're able to eliminate some duplications that they have. For example, Sherwin-Williams merged with Valspar. They're both paint companies. They both had payroll departments, so they could combine their payroll departments and only have one payroll department, and that would make them more efficient. Another efficiency they do is called economies of scale, and that's because they're so big that they're able to get discounts on things they need to buy, things they need to run the office like computers or paper, and things they need for their product itself, maybe like paint cans or the materials that go into the paint. Another reason a company might merge would be to get a new or better product. So Disney and Pixar were working together before they merged. Pixar was this everything we create kids adore company, and Walt Disney was the legendary company, and so those two had been working together quite a bit before they actually merged in 2006. They were, as I said, Pixar was the production company, so they were creating all these great cartoons that the kids loved. Disney was actually their distribution company, so they were the distribution channel that got the movies out to the theaters that they needed to get to. So these two companies merged in 2006, and they were able to collaborate more freely. Another reason that a company might merge would be to eliminate a rival. And Sirius Radio and XM Radio were both satellite radio services, and in 2008, they merged to become Sirius XM, and so there's only one provider of satellite radio. There was just a minor issue when they did that, in the fact that they had to be checked out through the Sherman Antitrust Act. You probably remember the Sherman Antitrust Act from your U.S. history class. That was the act in 1890 that wanted to make sure that companies weren't really just monopolizing a market. But the application of that actual act has varied depending upon the interpretation of the U.S. Supreme Court. That was the intent of the Sherman Antitrust Act. So when Sirius and XM merged, they were able to really just get rid of a rival there. Another reason might be to change an image, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. Sears and Kmart, they merged, and that was to hopefully have them be able to compete with some of the bigger or some of the newer stores like Target and Walmart and some of the other stores that were doing really well, the high-end department stores. But it didn't work out so well, and so they didn't really change their image on that one. Another one is in the airline industry. They have been known to merge. There was an airline called Peoples a while ago, and they were a low-end airline. They were cheap to fly, so everybody liked to fly them. But then one day, one of their planes just mysteriously exploded over the Everglades, and they really had a hard time coming back from that. So they merged with another company, and that company, they took that company's name. So they got rid of their name and they took that company's name, and soon people forgot that Frontier Airlines used to be this airline that exploded over the Everglades. Another reason that companies might merge is to get bigger. You can think of the Exxon Mobil merge. Those were two companies that got together and they merged and became a huge oil company. They originally had been united as one company in the 19th century, and so they reunited in the 20th century and became ExxonMobil again and became a large oil company. So we talked about why companies merge, and now we're going to talk about different types of mergers. There's horizontal and vertical. Horizontal is when you combine with a company that produces the same product as you do, and our example here would be ExxonMobil. We just talked about them merging, and they were both oil companies, and they came together to create an even bigger oil company. Another type of merger is the vertical merger, and that's where you combine with a firm that produces a product that's in your product line. And one of those that we have is Disney Pixar. So Pixar was the production company, Disney was the distribution company. If Pixar doesn't create the films, Disney has nothing to distribute. So when they merged, that was considered a vertical merger. Another idea for a vertical merger might be if you are a manufacturer of cheese. Let's say you're Sargento and you're going to make cheese. Well, if Sargento goes out and buys a dairy farm, then they have purchased or merged with a company that provides something that they need for their product. The automobile industry does it. When I was working for the pharmaceutical company I was working for, we actually merged with a box company. It wasn't just box, it was the bottle company too. We merged with this company that did a lot of the packaging for our products. So it was a packaging company, and they created the boxes, they created the labels, and so they were part of our company now. So instead of us having to go to them and talk to them all the time, we had a little bit more control of it inside of the company. Next, we're going to talk about what a conglomerate is and why they are formed. So a conglomerate is just a business that has 4 different primary business units or business segments. They make unrelated products, and none of them really account for a majority of the firm's sales. Why companies are conglomerates or form conglomerates is because they want to diversify. They diversify, they're in different markets, and that reduces the effect of one market. If it goes bad, then it doesn't drive down the company's profits as bad. So that is what a conglomerate is, and that is why they are formed. An example of a conglomerate that you're probably very familiar with would be the Walt Disney Company. So the Walt Disney Company has 4 different business lines or 4 different business segments, business units, and they're largely unrelated. So for example, they have Walt Disney Studios, which is where they do films and music. They have Parks and Resorts, which is how they started for the most part, Parks and Resorts. So that's where they have their theme parks, their cruise lines, and any other travel related. They do timeshares. So anything travel related would be considered under Parks and Resorts. They have their media networks, which is the company's TV properties. And then they have what they call Disney Consumer Products and Interactive Media. And this is where they have their toys, clothing, any other merchandise that's based on Disney-owned properties, as well as Disney's internet, mobile, social media, virtual worlds, and their computer game operations. So as you can see, Disney is very well diversified. They have 4 different business segments or business lines, and that's what makes them a conglomerate. A multinational is a type of company or a type of corporation that has manufacturing services, manufacturing or some portion of their company in different nations. So they might have companies here in the United States, they might have some in Mexico, they might have some in Canada, they might have some over in Europe or Australia. And the reason they want to do this is also for diversification, because if they are in one country and that country's economy happens to turn south and go bad, then they don't drive down the company's profits as much because they have the other countries that they can rely on. An example of a multinational company is one that you're probably not familiar with by name, but I'm guessing you probably use a lot of their products, and that company would be Procter & Gamble. That company is from my hometown, Cincinnati, Ohio, and they have 65 different brands of things that they do. They have baby care, so they have Pampers. They also make Loves. They have laundry detergent, so they do Tide and I can't think of the name of the other one right now. That's its competitor, but they make the one that's a competitor for it. They do family care products, hair care products. They do stuff for home care, personal health care. They do lotions. They do skin care, personal care. And they have sales and marketing operations in Asia, Europe, China, India, Africa, South America, and North America. So they're in many nations. Multi means many, national means nation or country. So a multinational would operate in many different countries. And that is it for this part of business organizations.